Lesson 6.5 is about partial variation. We learned from the last lesson that lines that pass through 0, 0, that is called direct variation. We're going to talk about partial variation this time, which obviously you can think that it's going to be a little bit different. The cost of a pizza with tomato sauce and cheese is $9. It costs 75 cents for each additional topping. Out of those two numbers, what I'd like you to ask yourself is which one sounds like a rate? I'm hoping you think that the 75 cents is the rate. This $9 is sort of new for us. The $9 is like a flat fee. That is where your line would start. So the cheapest pizza is $9. And then from there, the line would go up. So if you look at the table shows the cost of a pizza with up to 8 additional toppings. So here we are. Trying to get a pizza. If you just get a plain pizza with 0 toppings, notice the last time we did this kind of lesson, it was 0, 0. This time it's 0, 9. That's a little bit different. What that means is you don't even have to buy any toppings and the pizza still costs $9. And then it's going up. Every 2 toppings is costing $1.50. So if you look at this table, it didn't go up by 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 toppings. It's counting up by 2s. And what it says up here is that 75 cents for each topping. So if you were thinking about 2 toppings at once, that would be $1.50. So this is going up every time by $1.50. Then it says the cost in dollars for a 4-topping pizza. So it's the $9 that you have to pay right up front, plus 4 times 75 cents. And if you do that, you get $12. So that's where these numbers are coming from. This is the kind of thing that you would be able to figure out in your head pretty quickly. It's pretty much common sense, maybe the kind of thing that you've done before. If you order pizza, it's something that should make sense to you. Okay, down below, when we look at the graph is a little bit different. So they did put toppings along the bottom, which is what I've been suggesting that you do, and cost up the side. When you buy a pizza without any toppings, it's $9. It didn't start at 0, it started at 9. So that's a really important thing to see, that this line starts at 9 and not at 0. What that means is this illustrates partial variation. We talked about direct variation when the lines start at 0. Partial variation is when you have a line that doesn't start at 0. It starts either above 0 or below 0. The point where the line crosses the vertical axis is the vertical intercept. So imagine that you have a vertical axis here, and this line, if it kept going, would cross it. That is where those two lines intersect. So that is called the vertical intercept. It's also called sometimes the initial value. That's where the whole line starts. It starts at 9 and goes up from there. On the graph, the vertical intercept is 9, but what is the rate of change? So we were talking up above about the rate. We need a rate. So the rate, if it was 75 cents per topping, per 1 topping, then that would mean that the rate is 75 cents. If we look at rise and run on the graph up here, the rise between 12 and 10.50, that's a difference of $1.50. And the run between 2 and 4 is a difference of 2. So our rate of change, doesn't matter how you get to that point, I get 75 cents. You might start to notice that this sort of information is given right in the question. And then asking you for the rate later, it should be very obvious from the question that the rate was 75 cents per topping. It's a unit rate. We've talked about that many, many times. When we're looking at equations, when it's a direct variation, this is what we talked about in our last lesson, that you put a rate with a letter beside it. This is going to be a little bit different because this time the line doesn't start at 0, it starts up higher. It has a vertical intercept. So this time we're going to write the vertical intercept at the end. So for example, with the pizza, the rate is 75 cents per topping. So this N must represent the number of toppings. And then if you wanted to sub in 6 toppings, 7 toppings, 12 toppings, it doesn't matter. 2 toppings, you would sub in a 2 right there. 75 cents times 2, 75 cents times 6. What's important is that there is a vertical intercept or a fixed cost or an initial value, it might be called, of the pizza. The pizza costs $9 before you even add any toppings. So that is a $9 flat fee. It doesn't matter how many toppings you add to the pizza, the flat fee is still $9. If it's 100 toppings or 5 toppings, it's still $9. So the $9 doesn't change. And that's why it doesn't need any variables beside it. It's not multiplied by anything. It's just $9 no matter what. So that's sort of our no matter what number. But the rate has to have a variable beside it. All equations, whether they're direct or partial, will follow this sort of pattern. It's cost or a y. The actual variables don't matter too much to me. It's that you know the rate goes beside a variable and that the initial value or the fixed cost is on its own at the end of the equation. And all equations look like this, so it would be a really good idea to write this or highlight this or take note of what these equations look like, because every single time you're asked for an equation, it's going to look like these. Last few examples. Yolanda has a window cleaning service. She charges a $12 fixed cost plus $1.50 per window. $1.50 per window, per one window. So that is the rate. So when we're talking about what she charges $1.50 per window, and then a $12 fixed cost. Okay, it looks a lot like the pizza equation. They all look the same. The rate per window. That means if I'm going to clean 11 windows, I would sub it in for W, $1.50 times 11 plus 12. You could probably have figured this question out in your head just by using common sense, right? That the cost to clean 11 windows, I would have to multiply $1.50 times 11 and then add the flat fee of $12. It doesn't matter if I'm cleaning 1 window or 11 windows. It's $12 no matter what. So $1.50 times 11 is $16.50, and then we'd have to add the $12 to that she's going to charge just for coming to the house or whatever she charges. So 28.5, we actually get the cost is $28.50.